Okay, so, cellar of the house. Be warned. You know how, like, in old-time movies and stuff, or, sorry, movies, I don't know where my brain is, old-time maps, they had, like, on the edges, the there be dragons? Yeah, pretty much that's what this is. This is where things get bad. This was originally, the stairs here are obviously not original. They were put in after, using pink wood paneling, or sorry, purple wood paneling that we saw before in the dining room. There's some of that nice 70s faux wood panel, quality stuff. The floor, which, let me see if I can turn around. Here we go. So this was, the stairwell was cut into the house, which is one reason why it's so narrow, is because it was going between the actual floor joists themselves. And on top of it, we see that we do have wood, solid wood, and then it looks like wallpaper type stuff, or like cheap flooring, which is what this is, which is on top over here. But like, yeah, it's too dark to see now that I'm looking actually at the phone instead of at the camera. So this is an inch thick. So this is full inch wood flooring, which you can see here. But again, I don't think this is original flooring, but it may have been. This may have been a replacement. I haven't figured that out yet. There's so much craziness in the house that it sometimes gets hard to figure out what's what. Now, because this was put in later, and because of floor joists that they can't remove because of structural reasons, the stairwell is very steep, and you pretty much have to crouch to get down here. And you have to crouch while you're down here because it's not very tall. So, let's focus. There we go. So, this is the chimney. This is a poured foundation that was put in who knows at what later point in time. And it actually doesn't even line up with the blocks properly. So the blocks had settled, and then they had put in the floor and didn't care about whether or not it was even or not. Things like this. This was a hole that was torn out so that they could run, well, not necessarily so they could run the gas line, but this right here, this is the edge of the dining room. On the other side of this is where the kitchen and bathroom extension is, because that underneath there is just dirt, and then you see what they put down for the porch. So, yeah. So unfortunately, that's a big problem, because in the wintertime, because that was a porch, water can flow under it and then flow right into the house, which is why you have serious block degradation. And the cellar is in the foundation. Oh, look, nice cracks. Step cracks. Because of freeze cycles, because of how cold it gets here. And of course, you can see all the moisture when I'm not blocking the light in the floor. And puddles, because who doesn't want puddles in their cellar? And speaking of rotted block, let me see if I can... This is dark. Let's see if I can get out of the way to show how quality it is. But like, come on. Like, this is... That was block just moments ago before I ripped it out. So, that's why the foundation needs to get completely redone. Because the walls are trash, and the floor is trash. The floor isn't level, which you can't see here. And then other things like that. Yes, there is a hole where the ground is missing. Now, I say this in jest, but also seriously, but then also in jest. I bought this house last August, and so I've been trying to figure it out. But let me just say that if there is a body that was ever hidden in this house, that's where it was hidden. Hopefully it's not still there, because this makes no sense. This is inside the house. And it's not like they tore up concrete and then threw it over there. Like, the concrete is gone. Don't know where it is. Now, I dug down into this about a foot to a foot and a half. And all I found was basically backfill and rubble and trash. Like, this was down there. This was down there. This thing was down there. These were down there. Like, all of this stuff was just sitting down there in that. At a certain point, I said, okay, that's enough. Stop. Put the dirt back in. Don't touch it. Because when I get the foundation redone, I will have other people here. And if there is something down here that I don't want to know about, I want other people to find it, not me. And I want to be around when they find it, so it's clear that, just not finding things. Because that could be awkward. However, maybe there's like buried treasure here. Maybe this is where the treasure map X marks the spot. Maybe this was it, and they were looking for it, but they didn't find it, and I'll find it later. This monstrosity here is a temporary, effectively, barrier. It's not a vapor barrier. It's not good enough. It's not an air barrier. It's not good enough. But a fake wall that I put in to put insulation in, because right about here, there is a doorway that was the original cellar doorway, which is just solid wood. It's about that thick, but it actually doesn't line up with the doorway anymore because the house is settled and the foundation is broken and the back footer along this wall has fallen out. There's actually a chunk of the cellar wall here that literally is just kind of hanging. So I had to put this up to stop, because when the wind blows, it blows right up this way, and it would blow right in the house, nice cold wind, to then freeze all of the water that's dripping in from all over the place. Let me plug in the light. Let that warm up a little. So that, oh, good. That's this spot here. Again, if the camera will focus. Come on, or not. Anyway, so this is the footer, or I should say the block wall that's been put in for the fireplace area, because that's where that sits. And you can see there, well, no, you can't see there because it's too dark, and my video camera's not going to adjust for light, but where they added in the addition of block to then hold up all of that. Again, I don't know when it was put in. It wasn't put in well. It's crumbling. It's cracked. And I'm really annoyed that my camera won't focus. There we go. Sort of. That's better. It's not as fuzzy. The furnace, which doesn't work, which probably hasn't worked in a very, very long time. That was for the gas. There are obviously parts missing. Don't know what went there. The electronics are all scrappy. That's just nasty and decrepit and rusty and out of focus. See this? Now it's in focus. But yeah, that's nasty. The exhaust vent, which goes out. Tank of something. Pipe of doom. Other pipe of doom. Just random lots and lots and lots of pipes that who knows where they go. Like, look. There's two more pipes that are open-ended. Another pipe. It's a mess. I mean, it's almost like they tried to go steampunk, but then didn't. They didn't commit. Because there's just pipes all over the place. Yeah, so more crappy block that just crumbles when you mess with it. More leaking. That was a window. Let me back up for that. That was a cellar window. There's one on that side as well, which they took the glass out of, or it got broken. But instead of replacing it, they just put wood up, because obviously wood is a really good way to keep out air and water when it's at ground level, and water can just rest up against it. Because, we all know wood is waterproof, right? Speaking of wood, this piece of wood. So you can see there it's kind of bowing, and it's bowing because what's on top of it is pushing down on it, and what's on top of it is pushing down on it is all of these floor joists, which are bad, and just, look, I just pulled that off of it. They're really grimy, which is why this jack and that jack were put in to hold this to then hold the floor. The living room floor, where it kind of dips down, this is why. This joist is going bad. Now, one would think that they would have found the actual spot where it was weak and put a jack directly under it instead of on either side so the pressure was in the center, but now we're making sense. Hold on. Slow down. There again, that's where they tore out the block for the porch, which I don't know if there's going to be enough light to show. Not really. Well, maybe. You can sort of see, like, those are the floor joists for what was the porch, and then that's the bathroom right on top of it. And then that's the sewer line right there, which is broken somewhere. I don't know where. I've got to dig up the entire thing and find out. And speaking of other fun, horrible things, the fuse box. This is a Federal Pacific. The company doesn't exist anymore because they had a wonderful ability of the fuses not actually tripping. So that's why there was a sub panel upstairs. This fuse I know is good because I tested it. So this is a 60 amp. And then that is connected to here, which goes out, and then everything upstairs in the house runs off of that line. There's 3 other fuses which I know are good, which are... this one's actually not being used. This one is semi-good, but I'm not using it. So the foyer area, which is just the one light outside and a wall socket, the kitchen, and then the kitchen and bath. Washer dryer, this one's tested good. Everything else is the hot water heater doesn't work. It's on right now, but it doesn't work. And then a 100 amp main. But yeah, so all of these are off. I know where they go, but they're off because like I can literally bridge the connection and these won't trip. So if that happens, then you get wonderful things like that wall socket that I showed you earlier, and how it just, electricity flows really good, and I don't want to burn the house down, obviously, especially not with me in it. So, and just, you know, the rust. This is vintage rust right here. This is quality. Yeah, I mean, because of that, I should be able to sell that for some high dollar, because that is really, really vintage rust. You don't see rust like that nowadays on modern electrical boxes, so that's got to be worth something. So yeah, that's pretty much the cellar. There was the other part, which I mentioned I was going to do at a later date. So this is the back wall. This is the back living room wall. Right on the other side of this wall is what's underneath the porch out back, which has more of this crap where it's just completely torn up and open. The block is falling, and then the exterior wall on top of that is actually caving in a couple places. So there's definite work that needs to be done. Really what needs to be done, and what is going to be done, hopefully, at some point, is... Sorry, it just sounds like somebody's parked out front of my house. Is we're going to have to put in, dig out outside the house, dig down, do temporary concrete pads, put in cribbing and hydraulic jacks to then run I-beams across the whole house to then lift the house up, and then come in here with something and just demolish all of this, tear it all out. And then once it's all out and cleaned up, then we put down an actual proper foundation, put down good footers, then put down new block walls. And when we do that, well, actually, I should be showing that over here. When we do that, that wall is going to go away, and it's going to go all the way out to include the bathroom and the laundry room and the kitchen, so that they're actually properly enclosed, so that we can actually have a decent air and vapor barrier and keep insects and everything else out from being able to get into the house. Because with the amount of air and water that can get in and the temperatures here, that's what's caused this entire foundation just to crumble and wither away. Now, to be fair, this foundation has lasted probably, I don't know an exact figure on the house, so let's just average and say, let's estimate and say 120 years. So this foundation has done pretty good, considering it's obviously been worked on, because like that block wall is new block. That is not the original block. So at some point they put in that block wall to help hold up the house. because other things started to go bad. And there's some differences on this side of the house with the block that's used, and that side, not this wall, but that side of the house and the block that's used there. It's also really random. For instance, you know, we've got regular size block and then small block and small block, small block. So portions of this have been redone. Originally, I think it was all just the standard size block. And then after renovation and other work, they then started putting in these smaller single blocks to fill in, because I don't know. Because they did stuff that doesn't make sense to me. I'm not a builder, so I kind of look at a lot of this and go, this was probably done by a homeowner, because I've never seen builders do work like this, because builders usually take pride in their work and they don't want to get sued, which is the more important thing. So they try to do a better job than the job that has been done at this house with, again, multiple additions on top of multiple additions on top of multiple additions. Oh yeah, this sink. So this sink is really cool because it's blurry. It's not blurry in the camera, it's always blurry. Okay, you can see now that that was a total lie. So this is actually going to become the kitchen sink eventually once everything is redone, because it's an old ceramic sink and I think it's really cool and you never see that. So yeah. So I think that's pretty much enough of the cellar and the crappiness of it. There you see another joist that was put in because they had to cut out one of the beams, that one actually, to put the stairs in so that you could get down from upstairs. So, fun times.